Hello, I'm a gust of wind. This is Into the Toad. Going into the Toad is very similar to the shamanic path, the spiritual path, the path to peace and happiness. It's nothing new in that context. I think they're as old as our written knowledge. Religions, practices, disciplines, societies focused on finding this peace. It's an established path. It's right in front of us. We happen to be living in a time and place in the West in 2025 where it's not given much credence, but it's still there. And it really doesn't matter in terms of the liberation which method you use. You can practice yoga. It ties the body and the mind and the breath together. So you can begin to see the non-duality, the oneness of everything, starting with yourself. There's substances, there's hallucinogens, there's ancient medicines, there's a lot that we know about, and there's probably a lot more that we don't. It seems like almost every culture has some version of a shaman or a medicine man or a medicine that's used for this purpose. Finding peace and happiness. It baffles me that it's not the first priority in all societies. Having lived unhappy for so long, and then stumbling into this, there's a solution. There's a path to happiness. I was stunned, shook for years, just trying to digest it. Why isn't the entire planet focused on this? I don't know. I do know that I can't know. And that the complexity of this world is not for me to divine. That is very clear. And it's a relief. A lot of energy was spent trying to figure things out. And it's hilarious to me that when I finally did find this greatest secret of mankind, it's not something that can be discussed or spoken about or described. It's so perfect in my little universe here, in myself, that finding that thing that I needed forever is something that I can't I can't package up, I can't describe, I can't prescribe. It's ineffable. It cannot be spoken about. That gives us a sense of where it is. It's in the opposite place of your thoughts. And it's just a delight. It's like being 8 years old, and all you have to do is get up and go to school, and you love your teacher, and you love your class, and your friends, and every day there's a special surprise in your lunchbox. I mean, that's as simple as it is. There's really, and some days it rains, it's cold, maybe there's a car accident, maybe there's a broken bone. Okay, it doesn't stop it. It's the general theme. And the toad diverges from that and becomes unique and primary Because it does not just give you that. Toad clobbers you with reality. All of it. The life and the death. And I have practiced breath work and yoga and hallucinogens and silence, fasting. I've worked at it. I've tried. And nothing touches where the toad goes. I believe it is unique among all methods and disciplines. There's nothing greater. There's no greater gift to a human who wants it. It doesn't mean you can just start serving it to people at breakfast tables around the world and all of a sudden it's a happy paradise. I don't think that's how it works either. This is just me and my little world and my little self where it matters. It might not matter at all to anybody else. I mean, I do have my only social group anymore are toters. I struggle to connect with people who don't have this as a baseline in their life. I don't know where to begin a conversation or how to become enthusiastic about anything if this isn't understood. There's a before and an after for me in my life with the toad. Very distinct. And there's befores and afters along the toad journey. My last ceremony, which I've talked about repeatedly, was the greatest of those. There was a different creature to walk down that hill after that ceremony. A different name, a different identity, a different life, and everything changed in my life almost overnight from that experience. I mean, it did change overnight in me. The way I see the world, where I put my energy. I was able to see people for what they really are, not what they want to be seen as. And I don't think there's any wizardry to this. If you can quiet your own noise, it looks magical, but it's the simplest thing in the world. It's just right in front of you. This person is clearly this. They're saying that, but they're this. And that let me discover true love. It let me see it in another. This compatibility. And it let me behave accordingly. Let me appreciate it and not strangle it and not control it. We have this, just like we look at death in this somber, morose travesty. It's so awful. We don't talk about it, but it's this gloom and doom. Oh, did you hear about John? He died. Oh. You know, it's just earth-shaking. And we assign the same power to what we would call trauma or tragedy or hardship or anything. And you know someone in your circle and in your network, and then they went through something, and everyone gets together and says, oh, it changed them. It really changed them. Of course it did. Of course it did. It always does. Everything does. Stop pretending that it's not. It's happening every day. You're just not letting it happen, which is why all these other consequences come about with the unhappiness. I can't sleep. I eat too much. I drink too much. I'm cranky. My back hurts. My muscles are too tight. I can't stretch anymore. I'm nauseous. All of this comes from trying to hold on to something that is impossible to hold on to. And everyone getting together, everyone who says that they haven't changed and they've already figured everything out. You can call them any day this year or next year or 10 years from now, and it's all the same. It's just their life. You know the job, you know the house, you know the dynamic in their relationships. That's it. It's settled. It's fixed. It's delusion. It's fear. You don't want to let things roll because you don't know where they're going to roll to. And even though you're miserable and unhealthy, it's better than what might happen next. I have, in my earlier days, would talk to everyone I knew about the toad medicine and my experience, and I just wanted everyone to see this. It's 20 minutes of your life, and you're going to come back with clarity and happiness and peace and a better world for you and everyone who loves you. That's how I saw it. And most of the time, almost everybody say, "Oh my God, I'm going to do it. I can't wait." And then they always have an excuse. But some of them would say, "I can't. I have kids. What are you talking about?" What do you mean? What am I talking about? I'm talking about happiness. Do your kids want you to be happy? Do you think? Do you think you'd be a better parent if you were? I mean, what are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? You're miserable. Look at yourself. Do we have to talk about it? That endless cycle of frustration ended at first with me just giving up. Okay, I can't do this. And I felt guilty. I thought that I had discovered something that was going to help people, and I couldn't I couldn't convince anyone of it. And a couple of ceremonies later, and I didn't want to. I wanted to focus on myself. I wanted to enjoy my happiness. That's where I want all my energy flowing, inward. Everything is a distraction from that. It might be selfish. I don't know. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. I don't care. I know that much. I'm happy with my life in the sense that I'm prepared for it to end. I don't want it to end. I'm having more fun now than I've ever had my entire life. And I'm not a young man. But I don't feel any of that. I don't feel old. I don't try to defeat my old age. I battle discomfort daily. I do what I can to achieve true pleasure, true, actual pleasure. Looking forward to bedtime, to lay in that room, in that comfortable space, in the dark, in silence, with my love, with no noise, nothing, not even any talking. That's pure pleasure, every aspect of it. For most of my life, I had a problem with silence. I had a problem with going to sleep. I was just a tiny toddler. I used to run into my parents' room and crying and see my brain won't stop, which is probably a common symptom. I can't transition into what's coming. And there's an analogy going to sleep with going into the toad. There's some similarities there. You don't know where you're going when you go to sleep. We're so used to it, and we just ignore it. Like we ignore this path to happiness. Oh, and then you go to bed. or here, take a pill, or do this. And there's all these techniques, and people go to bed tying machines to their heads. I don't mean like 4 or 5 people. There's an entire population that I'm staggered at how different humans can be and their capacities to endure things that I just would not tolerate. There's so many things, and I don't know if it's good or bad to not have tolerance for things. I don't care. I steer myself to where my tolerances allow. I'm going to remain peaceful and happy. So I'm not going to be in a situation that takes that from me. I'm not giving that up to stand in a line at the bank. It's not happening. I don't care what the consequences are. There's always another way. And people have tolerances for things. And I don't know if it's because they can endure it, or they've just given up so hopelessly on having their own peace that there's nothing anybody can do to them anymore. They can't get lower. They can't get any darker. I don't know. God bless them. People, the resilience of us, it gives me pause. What people endure in this world. And then you see the people that are just tossed into it, no fault of their own, of course, and enduring the worst of the worst. And they still are loving. They still find peace when they can. They're only allowed peace on Sunday, but boy, do they really get into it. I saw this living down in Mexico among poverty that I had not seen before, and work ethic that was it just didn't quit. Hard work, back-breaking work all day, every day. And Sunday's free, and it's just a peaceful, joyous celebration of gratitude for being alive and loving each other and having their family there. I walked past one of these picnics one Sunday, and there was the grandfather in the center, and he was so old his voice could barely be audible. So the entire extended family circled around him in silence, from infants to toddlers to teenagers to parents, and just listened. And the love in that moment, it stopped me in my tracks. Where does it? How do these people do this? How ungrateful was I? How much of a weak, entitled, complaining, ravenous, selfish, greedy bastard was I? How dare I complain about anything that ever happens to me? Where do I get off? I'm walking, the sun is shining. I've had more years on this planet than I think most get. I don't know the stats, but I've lost almost all my friends from growing up. I think there's one left. And we barely made it through our 20s, most of us. I'm just grateful for every breath, every bite of food, every laugh, every night going to bed in that quiet place and just breathing in the arms, holding in my arms my love. What's all the fuss about? think if I had to explain the Toad journey in one word, it would be gratitude. It's definitely what I've come away with. And again, there's wisdom, and there's peace, and there's strength, power. But overriding all of that, or maybe the source of all of that, is the gratitude. This is where prayer comes from. This is religion. This is where it comes from. You see the beauty, and it's so overwhelming you can't accept it. You have to steel yourself to begin the journey to accept the fact that this world is perfect. You're perfect. Just behold. You're here. You made it. What are you going to do with it? There are no consequences for ruining it, for wasting it, for complaining about it. No one's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, by the way, the greatest pleasure in the universe is right here, and you're fighting someone on the highway because they hit their brakes too hard. That's not going to happen. You're allowed to be an idiot. That's the free will, I guess. I have been the idiot. I'm sure I am still an idiot at times. But I'm conscious. I'm awake. I'm aware. I'm alert. I know I'm nothing. I know this is all majestic. And these wild animals around me, with their vigor and ferocity and courage, suffering through the elements, eluding predators, raising young at a terrible price without a complaint. Animals can't complain. When my mother passed, her last breath left her body. And I realized in that split second that I'd never heard her complain. Why didn't I see that earlier? What kind of monster can't see that until it's gone? That's what I am. I am aware. And I stopped complaining. People close to me will start to see that. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe in 20 years. I don't know, and I don't care. That's not the point. The point is, I'm grateful. And if I'm responsible for someone, I will do what's needed. I will do my best. One of the last days that she spoke, and she had the dementia going in and out, so every day she had to realize yet again that she was dying, and go through that every day. And on one of those last days, I was losing it. And she just put her hand on me and she said, we're going to be brave little soldiers. 4'10" tall. That's what she was. Little. Brave. Except not a soldier. A warrior. There's a difference. Soldiers prepare for battle. Warriors prepare for death. I'm a warrior. I don't care about the battle. I'll show up. I'm not even concerned about winning the battle. Because I know the war. I know what's coming. That's what the toad offers. If you can show up. And if you're able to see it, I don't know why I see what I see. That's not for me to determine. I don't know why my life is so perfect when there's misery and suffering all around me, all the time. Addiction, suicide, depression, child molesting. I mean, it's dark. And I'm not in that. I'm here, but I'm not in any of that. I've experienced a lot of it. I've been up and down a lot of those roads. And I think that's when I talk with my toad friends about it, we have a kind of a consensus that you get to see the other side of the coin. You know, and if you're the Olympic athlete with no problems in your life and you're not really introspective at all, you're just taking care of your body and, your mind's clear, then you might not get rocked by the medicine. But if you drag yourself up that hill after decades of abuse and addiction and depression, and you're sweating and you're trembling and you can barely summon the strength to look in Eric's eyes as he prepares the dose, and it's almost too much to bear, you might be in for something wonderful. I would stick around to find out if that was you. There might be good things coming. And it's impossible to say what happens. It's impossible to describe what happens to you. It's impossible to predict what's going to come. And then when you're back, it's over. And you don't know where you were. But you're different. Somebody gets into a altercation at work and it just becomes terrible, this whole scenario. They end up losing their job and their career, and maybe it wasn't even their fault, and oh my gosh, what are they going to do? And oh no, boy, 5 years later you see them on the street and you whisper to your wife, they changed. Boy, that really changed them. That altercation at work. Yeah. And the toad will change you in dramatic fashion. Much more than an altercation at work will. But it does it by making you the change itself. Sometimes it feels like you're letting life flow. And you might think, I'm just a cork bobbing on top of the water in the river, and I'm just flowing downstream. But that's not true. You are the river itself. You can't unchange. You can't be anything but change and transition. There is nothing fixed in you, and there never will be. The only thing that is fixed is what you're desperately gripping right now. When you meet someone and you tell them what you do and who you are, and you start talking about all the wonderful things in your life to impress them, or to paint this picture of this thing that you think you are, or that you want everyone else to think you are, and it's all nonsense. And you know it's nonsense. Sometimes just after a couple drinks, just a mild altering of your consciousness, and you'll have a different take on that. Maybe a little bit of a psychedelic. Now you can't even think those thoughts anymore. Now you're starting to see the hollowness in yourself and in your bullshit, and oh boy, what is this? Here comes this fear. Here comes this panic. Yeah, that's where you got to go. That's where it is. Unpleasant? Yeah, you can say that. People call 911. They go to hospitals, and they don't even, they're not even getting the dose. They're getting a glimpse of the glimpse. And we have ER trauma surgeons administering drugs to stop it. Because the fragile human is going to break. That mind is going to be injured. And they're going to require psychiatric medication and evaluation for the rest of their lives. Maybe. I'm not an expert on anything, so I don't know. For me, that's not the case. My mind has broken completely. I was there. I volunteered. One time I came out, may have been the most difficult experience in the medicine. It's hard to compare these journeys because you're not going into the same place. There is no single direction. You're here and then you're somewhere else, and things are happening to you. It's happening at light speed. I believe that literally. Your soul is traveling at light speed across the universe. And the universe is not a black sky with sparkling stars in it. The universe has no dimension. Even the universe that we think we understand has no dimension. Imagine going into it spiritually. With the part of you that is equipped to do that. It's every time it's different. There is no, oh, I remember that from last time. It's not like that. It's everything. And that difficult time, I came out, and usually there's just this release coming out, and you're alive and you're okay, and the sun is shining, and it's real pleasure. Quiet mind, healthy body, everything in sync, everything perfect. That's the medicine. But this time, I came out and Eric was down, crouched over me. Serious. Looking in my eyes, and he just said, "Did you feel like you were going insane?" And I started crying. I didn't feel like I was going insane. I was insane. For a very long time. Everything had gone wrong in my existence. And it was my fault, and there was no escape. That's where I had been for a very long time. On this realm, probably about 20 minutes. That's the usual length of time. So when I got into this and would tell people it's life-changing. It's happiness, it's peace, it's everything. And it's only 20 minutes of your life. But if they would have shown up, which they never did, then I would have had to tell them, well, that 20 minutes is going to be my 20 minutes while you go in. I don't know what you're going to experience. But there's no rules in there. And I might, the next time I go in, I might come out and never want to talk about it again. Or never want to hear all of these thoughts that I had about it before that moment. It might change me in a way that I don't like. That's part of the flow. That's the river. I don't get to choose if there's rapids or not. I'm in a very good place. Does that mean I'm here to stay? No. There's no permanence. It doesn't matter how good it is. It's not going to stay that way. I think the reward is knowing there is something in you that is unshakable. So the cancer comes, the accident happens, the heart gets broken, the loved one dies. Like these things occur in this river. But the river keeps flowing, and the river is you. And it feels good to be a river. In fact, it's all of the power of the universe poured into a river, which is you. I mean, all it does is feel good, basically. But that's the sacrifice. That's the risk. You might lose everything. But there's that one piece that you can start to identify. And I think that's the same piece that you find in yoga and LSD and mushrooms and whatever the latest trend is or vehicle to achieve it is. Breath work and meditations, these things have been around longer than the written word. And they lead you to this awareness that there is something in me that's unshakable. There's something in me you can't hurt, ever. I don't care what weapon you have, you can't get to it. And if you chop my head off, I'm okay, and I transition. That's what we get from this path. The difference is with the toad is it takes you to the other side. It doesn't show you that you are this immortal being. It shows you that you're immortal, but it also shows you where you can go. I don't know if it's where you will go. I don't know anything. I can't describe it. There's no words. I can just tell you that it's real and that it's burned into my soul. And there's nothing anybody on this planet could ever say or do to me to change my mind about this. Everything else I'll debate. Fine. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you know. This, you can't. I don't even want to hear you talk about it unless you've been into the medicine and have something to say. But if you do, you're not going to say it in a way that bothers me because you're going to know that it really can't be talked about anyway. So you tell me about what you think it is and how grateful you are, and we will be friends. Eric doesn't talk about it at all. And I don't think anybody knows more about it than him. I think he lives in that realm. I think if he's left to his own devices and he doesn't have to take care of his job or his family, and he's sitting in his house in the jungle, that he's sitting quietly and his spirit is somewhere else. I mean, he lives in one of the most unpleasant climates on Earth without electricity or air conditioning or refrigeration. He's not a young man. And he's another person, you will never hear a complaint out of him. There was a heat wave down there last year that was just in the world news. Over 50 degrees centigrade. 120 degrees. 80% humidity, 90% humidity. Unbearable. Monkeys dropping dead and falling out of trees type of heat. That's real. So I asked him about it because I know he's done it. Oh, that's what he said. We get together, I said, well, how do you do it? I don't understand how you do it. How do you do it? He says, I adapt. Sometimes we talk about the state of the world. I love hearing his take on anything. And my second experience with the toad, me and Becker went down to Eric's ranch in Mexico for a week-long journey into the medicine. This was really kicking everything off for me. I fell in love with Mexico. I got deeper into the medicine. I learned a little bit more from Eric, and I learned more about myself. And I moved to Mexico to be close to Eric and the toad and to really get into this life. And down there, we were doing a little bit of traveling here and there, and I said, there was this quick anecdote. On the last night, we were done the medicine, and Eric said, we can go up the road. There's the Bat Volcano. And I said, well, what the hell is that? And he said, it's this special cave, this hole in the earth, where millions of bats of all different species live. And he said, there's only 2 on the planet. There's only 2 of these, and one of them's up the road. These are the kinds of things Eric says, and I'm thinking, if I was internet, I would have to Google this to find out if he's accurate. I need to fact check. Because he says some things that are just like, what? And he just comes up with things, and I will fact check later, and I'll find out he was right. He's never been wrong. Sometimes there's a little bit of a gray area on what the consensus is, and he's taken a certain stand on it, but he's never incorrect or making things up. So we went to the Bat Volcano, and there was no signs, there was no concessions. There was a dude in the parking lot, collecting a couple of pesos for people to park there, and that was it. We had to figure out how to walk down and everything, and it was one of the sights of the world. You get there at dusk. Not only do millions of bats emerge from this hole in the ground, but all the birds of prey are there to feed on these bats. And they swoop in and pick them off like fighter jets. And I said, if this was America, there'd be a McDonald's here. There'd be a Disneyland there. We would have spent hundreds of dollars. We would have had to park 5 miles away. And he said, the Mexicans aren't good at those things. Commercialization. I said, well, what are they good at? And he said, adaptation. He just had one word that led me think about it for quite a long time. And as I lived down there and, learned the ways this culture of tranquilo, it's never okay to get upset. That's not how you live down there. That's not the culture. It's always tranquilo, and it's always suffering. Whether it's the climate or the natural world or the corruption, the government, the tourists coming down and screwing everything up, whatever it is, they're adapting to it with tranquility. So when I find out it's 120 degrees where he's living, I said, how are you doing it? I adapt. I do this because it feels good to me to talk about this greatest adventure of my life. And my life has been full of adventure. I've wanted that. I've always sought it out, and I got burned many times, especially before I knew anything. Ended up addicted, ended up in jail, ended up poor, ended up heartbroken, ended up being a disappointment, ended up being someone who didn't recognize that the woman who raised him had never complained. I had been all these things along the journey of this river, of myself. And then I go into the Toad. And everything changed. This is where I belong. These are the stakes I want to play with. Where it's just me summoning courage to go back in. That's it. That's my whole life. Can I do it? And everything else falls into place. My business, my relationships, the tranquility of my home, the energy of that bedroom at 11 o'clock at night, the darkness, the silence, pulling me in. I wonder if I'll be able to enter death the way I enter the bedroom. It will be in my thoughts, whatever, if I have time to have a thought, which I probably will, unless someone just comes up and puts a bullet in my head, which is fine anyway. But it'll probably be a more mundane death, I would imagine. That's the average. And there'll be time to think, to consider, and to panic, and to hold on. There's still so much unknown for me. I have a leg up on almost everyone because of what the Toad has shown me. I am grateful for being given this gift. But I will be just as clueless as everyone else when it's coming for me. The only difference is I feel I know the nature of what this all is, and that the nature is benevolent. The nature is love. And the love doesn't mean that you just get held in their giant arms and you're comforted and coddled. That's not our world. Our world is eat and be eaten. That's the love in the world. So it's nothing you can understand. You can't see it from the point of view of the source. You can only acknowledge the source and accept what it's giving. And it sounds courageous to do that, but there's no other option. There's nothing. You can fight and hold on and panic and resist. Yes, and we do, and we will, but that's not really an option. That's all that is pain and darkness. That's it. That's what's inside you that's giving you the power to hold on. And you got to churn and chew through all of that before you get out to, oh, I will accept my place in this. You will bow down. And you will be forever reverent in this realm. Because you know how big it is. You know you're on the edge of this force. You're the river, but the river's flowing somewhere. And that's the thing you don't know. You trust it. And you can't just say, I'm going to trust it because someone told me to. You have to feel its bite. And you have to get murdered by it. Probably many times, if you're as stubborn as I am, to gain a sense of its nature. It's okay. I'm okay. I don't understand it. I don't know if I can keep up with it. I don't know why it's so powerful. I don't know why I feel so weak. I don't understand where I'm going after this. But I know it's okay. I know the sound of this universe is laughter. It is a cosmic joke. I was told the joke. That's how lucky I am. It wasn't in words, and there's the only recollection that I have is what I'm talking about, that it's okay. And this maniacal cackling laughter that I heard myself giving out when I returned to my body, returned to this earth. I had two ceremonies like that back to back. And I left. I left after that second one thinking maybe I don't even have to take medicine anymore. Like it's been established that I knew there was nothing to do and nowhere to go, but I didn't know how funny it was. It's a complete joke to think that you are anything in this space. To think that there's anything that you are going to do, no matter, even if you have an army and nuclear weapons, you can't do anything. You can't shake what is. This universe is full of explosions and temperatures and forces that you're a joke. This earth is a joke. Your whole sphere of knowledge and experience is a joke which will completely disappear without any consequences to you or anyone else. And feel that and then go back to this world where you're having your board meeting and making difficult decisions and looking at the ledger and acting like you know what's going on and you matter. You don't. You don't, and you won't ever. And your life is going to be significantly improved if you get your ass kicked by the medicine and have to accept that fact. And you won't want to, especially if you're big and important and rich. There seems to be two camps in the people who actually make it to the medicine. The one is the people who want to heal, and the other is the people who want reinforcement about how important they are and wisdom, which will help them make another $1 billion. And so I've seen them walk out of the medicine and open the laptop and start doing emails and conference calls. I don't understand it. I don't know what they're getting out of it. I don't care. The mind is sutured onto the soul. And as powerful as this medicine is, I used to think that everybody, of course, just had the same experience I did, where there was no holding on. I held on. I got murdered, and I saw that I'm a joke, and that there's nothing to hold on to, and that this rushing wave of pleasure was never ending. So why get in the way of it? But I've seen many people that have different experiences, and it's not always pleasant. The mind can hold on through a lot of storms, and you can maintain your delusion through, I guess, everything except the final transition. And what the medicine gives us is real. It is death. But you come back, and you got your mind. The mind can't exist without the body. And the body isn't here without the mind. Your awareness. So the ego doesn't disappear. We have all these cool phrases. People say they're ego melting and whatever. It doesn't go away. It gets into the back seat. That's it. So you can come back and let it drive. You can come back and just open up the driver's side and say, you're driving, and we're going right back to where we were. People do it. I don't know why that's not my my path. I think I've been so far down into the darkness in the course of my adventures before coming into the medicine that I have a sense for where that leads. Eric calls it the pit. And I'm always terrified that that's where I'm going when I start inhaling the medicine. And he'll just give me one of his little smiles and he says, you don't have to go back into the pit. And I'm always worried that there's some technique I need to know to avoid that. Well, how do I steer into the light? It's never rainbows for me. Well, maybe it is, and I don't remember the rainbows. Chad, the facilitator here in the U.S. that helps with everybody, he's just a wonderful, courageous man. He's always there in the ceremonies now, and when I came out of one, it was so difficult that I just finally got my wits about me, started walking down the hill with him, and I said, why can't I have the rainbows? And he interrupted me and he said, that is your rainbow. You were just in it. That's what I get. And it's worth it. It's rewarding. It's difficult, but maybe it can't be any other way. I don't know. It gives you what you need. That's always the case. And not everybody needs to be lightened. Not everybody needs to be happy. Some people just need more money and more power. And maybe that's what they use it for. I can't imagine. There's a lot I can't imagine. I'm afraid of the pit myself. But I'm gradually coming to terms with the fact that when I come back, I'm here. And this here it's all I need. And it's so clear that it really can't change. I'm seeing it from my own source, and it's stable. And when I started down this road, I didn't know what I was coming back into. I was a mess going in, and then there was this nuclear explosion, and I was a mess coming out. And I was confused about everything, and I needed to figure it out. And there was a lot of time of wasted energy thinking I was going to figure things out. That was a whole pit in itself. So I don't know if there's a new pit, then there is. But I know in this realm it'll only be 20 minutes. I know I'll come back. I know Eric will be there. The sun will be there. The blue sky will be there. The gentle breeze, the insects, the birds, nature is there for me when I come back. So for years I was asking Eric how he's so stoic. Stoic, it's not even a big enough word. And I just wanted to understand how he faces this as a human. He doesn't seem human. And the only thing he'll ever say is for him, it's like he knows he's going to meet a beautiful woman. That's all he knows. He doesn't know anything else. But he's excited about the prospect of meeting a beautiful woman. It can go really bad. And I'm sure it does. And maybe it's not. I think there's a realm of you battling yourself and your own pit. And then I think some people, they blast through that, and now they're in the spirit world. I had one experience like coming out, and Eric said, if it makes you feel any better, that's not all you. And I knew what he meant. It was my brother and my dad and the anger. And I was battling it to the death. for myself and for them. And I bawled like a little baby. I cried and I cried and I cried. And when the crying was over, I was light on my feet, and grateful for everything.
Be your best friend. Okay.
Just empty. This crying thing, it's the difference between feelings and emotion. The medicine is about the feelings. And you get a sense that that's really all there is in you. And when that stuff has to come out, it can only come out in one way. And you are reborn from it. The cries and the laughter and the awe that you experience with the medicine cannot be experienced in any other way, I don't believe. There's no other way to get to what that is. We're just not, our lives are too complicated. You can't get to the raw deal in our world. And that's exactly where the toad takes you. And it's to be around a group of people who are strangers, and they all show up terrified. Some of them pretending they're not. Some of them pretending they're veterans, that they know what's happening, that whatever. All the same nonsense you see on the street. But then everyone goes. And then that night at dinner, you see happy people. You see people being themselves. They're not even that way around their spouses. And here we are, with Eric at the center, cracking jokes, eating Chad's food, which there is love in everything. And if you think you're going to get nutrition from food that has had no love put into it, you're incorrect. Love travels through everything. All things are full of love. Or they have the capacity for love. Love is healing. Love is joy. Love is life. And love is death. And our world doesn't acknowledge any of that at all. Everyone has their secret little world that they're trying to maintain. Maybe they have some love and happiness and they're just holding on to it, but this world is trying to take it from them every step and every turn. Snatch it out of them. And we give it up. We don't know the dynamic, the real dynamic. We don't know where the strength actually lies. It's in you. You're giving it up. No one's taking it. No one's taking anything from you. And if you find yourself running your mouth complaining about everything that's being taken from you, you can shut up now. And you can stop giving it away. All the power, all the love, and all the joy is in you. What are you going to do with it? Going into the toad is like a lot of other experiences and disciplines in our world. Hinduism, this massive, it's not even a religion, is it? There's no consequences, there's no threats, there's no commandments. And that spawned Buddhism, which is another massive movement of the self, of what actually exists. And they both allow for and offer pathways to this place that I'm talking about. But the medicine doesn't stop there. You pass through that at light speed and you go to the other side of the universe. And you try to make sense of that. And I think the lesson for me has been you're going to be so bewildered for so long. Eventually you will see that you can't know anything. The web of complexity of this thing is not for you. It's for you to play in. It's for you to flow across. You're the river. And the water's flowing. Nothing else is going to happen until it stops. And that's really, if you want to concern yourself with something, concern yourself with that. What happens when the water stops? There's no other pursuit in life that I can think of. Once you find peace and happiness, you're aware that it's all about to end. And I don't think the peace and happiness ends. I believe it gets bigger. I know that. I don't know how I know it. I just know it. And if I'm not talking to myself, I'm not saying it. The whole point of this was to be able to talk about the things I like to talk about. And there's no other way to do it. This cannot be a discussion. This is just my view. This is my adventure. This is why I was here. This whole thing was never going to be anything else. And the gratitude I feel, it's unwavering. It's not affected by the bad things that happen in my life. They're not on the same plane. That's peace. That's wisdom. That lets you navigate this world with laughter, which is what this world is. It's a joke. Even the heavy stuff. My last ceremony, I don't know. I just don't know. I know that dinner that night, I was talking about it. I couldn't. People saw it in me. Chad looked at my eyes and he's like, "Oh, welcome." And all I could talk about was how difficult it was, and the death after death after death, and this just being crushed, helpless, terrified. And Eric gently interrupted me and said, "You know, for the first 10 minutes, you laughed the whole time, and then you stopped, and you went through what you went through. But for the first half, you were laughing." And I would not have guessed that. I don't even know what I've gone through. It's a mystery to me. And there's a reason for that. I don't know what anyone else goes through. I don't even know what I go through. I only know how I feel. And I feel good. Thanks to the toad, I feel good.